Hi, my name is Ibtisam Azim, Al Arabi Al Jadid newspaper. I have first a question. If I remember that right, you went to Gaza. So could you walk us through things you saw, your impressions, the challenges you're facing? And I have also a general question regarding financing. Do you believe that countries who are involved in these different conflicts and who deliberately destroy infrastructure, humanitarian infrastructure, they should be legally held accountable to pay for these humanitarian aid operations? Thank you.
Thanks, Ibtisam. So yes, I was in Gaza in January. I'd hoped to get there much earlier. I went to Darfur in the first week in the job. I'd hoped to get to Gaza as early as that, but there were plenty of obstacles in the way of that visit. Absolutely vital to get in and see the operation on the ground. I think when the ceasefire was declared, a lot of people, and I think, to be honest, me included, wondered whether we would deliver the 600, 700 trucks a day that we'd been signed up to deliver. Massive amount of vital life-saving aid. But we did that. We delivered over 20,000 trucks. We delivered those 600, 700 trucks a day, fed 2 million people. And at every moment when partners or those on the ground sought to find a humanitarian alibi for breaking the ceasefire, ending the ceasefire, we were able to deal with those challenges and keep that aid flowing in. So that made a massive difference. And that's obviously a difference that we're not making and haven't been making for the last 2 weeks since the borders closed. Now, Gaza, I mean, some of you may have been in, probably not, because of the restrictions placed on the international media. It was much worse than I'd anticipated, and I'd really prepared myself for the worst. And bear in mind that by this stage, I'd been in Darfur, I'd been in Kupiansk on the front lines there, and I'd driven from the Lebanese border to the Turkish border all the way through Syria in the weeks after the change of government there, the caretaker authorities' arrival in Damascus. Gaza was on a completely different level. And I drove I'd been in Niros, one of the kibbutz that was hit on October the 7th, where 1 in 4 people were killed or taken hostage. So I'd heard those stories, met the survivors there, but then drove in through the Erez crossing into the north of Gaza. And in a way, the shock is even greater then, because the devastation and the desolation in northern Gaza is even greater than it is in the south. And for miles and miles, it's just rubble. You know, my staff trying to find their way back to their homes using GPS because there were no landmarks to navigate by. You couldn't see what was a school or what was a hospital, what was a home. And I've said this before, one of the first shocking things I saw driving in is the dogs going through the rubble. And I said to my colleague who was with me, why are the dogs so fat? And he said, well, because the dogs are looking for corpses. And you notice that the people are thin. And then you see that for miles and miles and miles. And I don't think anything can prepare you for that. And every single person I spent time with is deeply traumatized by that, by having lived through that, having survived that experience. And that includes our extraordinary staff on the ground, many of whom have lost their own homes and lost families. Utterly devastating. And I hope that more cameras, more journalists will be able to get in and tell that story over time. But as Steph was saying earlier on, the key thing now is that we're able to maintain that flow of aid in, because it had made such a difference. By the way, I was there during the announcement. I don't think we've seen the detail of it yet, of President Trump's plan on, I think he's called it the Riviera in Gaza. And so I was able to talk to a lot of Palestinians because, of course, it's important that they're consulted on this plan. And everyone I talked to said they were planning to stay. And everyone I talked to said, give us the tents so that we can rebuild our lives and our communities.